Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video I wanted to talk about natal Mars trine or sextile to Jupiter. So these are very fortunate aspects to have in the natal chart. It shows that there's a pretty high energy level, but manageable. It's not like too much energy, but there's a good amount of energy and confidence and exuberance. So much so that, like, even if we've got other aspects going on, like, let's say, for example, like a sun squaring Saturn or something, which could lead to low confidence or lower energy levels, you throw in these aspects in here, and the person is still able to act on desires or things that will move them forward in life. So these aspects show a really good energy boost and a certain amount of luck, but luck's not really the right word. It's like there's a decisiveness, there's like an ability to act on what we want, what we desire, as shown by Mars, which ends up being fortunate for us. So people with these aspects tend to be quite successful, like even from a young age. They're real like doers, right? Like they don't just think about something, they have to go and do it, right? Or like, for example, I feel like, like the kids that like have a lemonade stand or something, like they start out early, in the action, forward motion, forward energy, as far as, getting stuff done, whatever it may be. And you can look at the signs that this is taking place in. Like if it's a fire trine, there's going to be more inspiration, more confidence, more energy like that. But if it's in earth signs, it could be more like the lemonade stand, right? Where it's like material focus, right? Which is always a characteristic of earth signs, is focused on like the more grounded side of life and also the physical body, but especially finances. So like you can modify it based on the signs that this is taking place in. Now the sextile is going to take more effort to activate this, so it might not feel as natural for the people with the sextile, but it's like they can choose to activate it. They can choose to embody this natural energy and confidence. Whereas the trine people, they're not going to have to choose it. It's just natural, it's just instinctual. But they both have it. So, yeah, these are really nice aspects to see. I was going to say in the chart of men, but in men and women, I mean, it can lend a positive attitude as well. Like I've seen it in like, people who have, I would say, more depressed placements, like, maybe a heavy water or Pisces or, emphasis like that, or Saturn energy. And then they have like a Mars trine Jupiter and fire, and they still like have this optimistic outlook. They're still like go-getters, doers, athletic. That's another thing. They can be very naturally athletic, or sporty with these aspects too. So like even coexisting, our charts are so unique and always so varied, but you could see these aspects coexisting with some more, yeah, like I said, downer aspects in the natal chart. And these people have a spunk, they have an energy, they have a fire, right? Just naturally, Mars and Jupiter, this is a fire trine, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like, Mars naturally ruling Aries and Jupiter naturally ruling Sagittarius. So even if the planets are in different signs of a different element, there's still a fire element to this trine. Do you get what I'm saying? So like there's a fire connotation here. These people have like a bit of a fire sign energy, even if it's existing in different different signs here. And it is kind of a first house, like ninth house energy as well, right? So these people can tend to be on the move a lot, have an interest in travel, really being able to, I would say, move on from things that are no longer serving them or become boring. We can still see a restlessness with the trine or the sextile of Mars and Jupiter, because it is that fire energy. So these people don't really like to sit around. They don't like to mope around. Like if something is done, if a relationship's done or an energy's done, like they can move on, and they know that brighter things are ahead. And also, they know that they can create the next thing, right? So if there is a failure, there is a broken relationship or a failure or a loss or something, they know that there's more around the corner and they can act on it. They can, like, they have a real power for, like, decisive action, like I've said. So in the moment, they can actually be quite gifted at making the right decision, good reflexes, or, you could even see this in, like, in some cases, work like police work, or anything where you need instinctual reactions to be on point, right? Like I said, sports, things like that. When you've got good aspects to Mars, it shows that, like, you're able to be decisive, you're able to make the right move in the moment, whereas sometimes people with hard aspects to Mars will find that impulsively they make the wrong action in the moment, right? It doesn't work out for them. It puts people off. You're not going to see these people angering as many people or putting others off as we would with the hard aspects, where people come on too strong, they're a little bit too much. That's the fortunate thing about the easy aspects, is that you tend to be received better for your energy when you have a nice trine like this or a nice sextile like this. You're able to kind of put the right energy forward so that people like you, people respond well to you. Whereas, sometimes with the harder aspects, people end up being put off by you. It's like a little too much energy. So that's something you can see here with this trine, is that you can get along well with people. Now, there is a bit of a stubbornness inherent in specifically more the trine than the sextile in this case, where, because you kind of have this natural confidence and you're pretty certain about what you believe, because Jupiter can also represent, like, our beliefs and, like, higher learning and faith, right? There can be a bit of a stubbornness or ability to get stuck in a rut a bit around what we believe here, and kind of a not open to others' perspectives or others' ideas, because there's quite a sureness here. So that's something that can happen with a trine that's very close in orb, is that the person, because everything is kind of working out there, they're not too open to insight. So you can see people with the trine specifically being quite strong in what they believe in, very persuasive, right? But if someone comes up and is like, well, actually you're wrong, this is like the real truth, like, they just aren't always open to receive that. So they can be, as much as they're open to new experience and new energies to come into their life, and they're hopeful about the future with this trine, they might not be super open about changing a belief or something that they hold dear, right? So they're not really looking for meaning with this. Like, they already know the meaning of life. They already know where they're going. Like, they're not asking you for advice as much with a trine like this. Now, the sextile, they can be more open to things, because the sextile is inherently a social aspect, right? It has, like, the connotation of third house, 11th house. So it's more open to other perspectives and other things. But they can still, even with that, with the energies of Mars and Jupiter, they can still kind of get pretty fixed in their own beliefs, but they'll be more open than the people with just a straight up trine. They're less open to things. Now, you could have other things going on, like a Aquarian or Uranus emphasis, that would show that, like, they are actually more open to ideas. But with these easy aspects, there's sometimes it's just and it's not like there just isn't a need to change a belief or change a perspective, because they got it going on. They're doing pretty well, and they tend to do well with less energy than it takes other people to do well. So that's another reason why they're not necessarily asking you for your input. because it's already working. Another thing, they can do really well at pretty much anything that they decide to apply themselves to, which is a rare thing, right? There's less struggle in these aspects. It's like if they want something, if they want to go forward in their life in some way, like whatever their goals are, they actually have a belief that's like, I can do it, which is actually missing from many people. This is a very primal Mars Jupiter energy that they've got going on when we have Mars, which is like our primal energy and how we go after something that we want. And it can also be what we want sexually too. Have to factor that in. I'll have to talk about that aspect. With Jupiter, which is our faith, our joy, our forward moving energy, how we expand our life, and so when we've got these aspects, we've got this positive aspect here, it's like there's an inherent belief that I can do it. I can make my dreams a reality. I can move forward in my life. I don't have to stay stagnant. Like I'm always on the right track. I'm always in the right place at the right time. There can be some natural beliefs like that and more trust and more faith, right? It's kind of like I said, it's like a first house, ninth house, Aries, Sag kind of energy, just naturally with these people. So that's very fortunate for outward action. These aren't super reflective aspects. Like I said, there's not so much internal questioning of the self that we would see with the harder aspects or different aspects showing more depth and introversion. These aren't introverted aspects. These aren't like aspects that like I got to study myself for hours and hours, unless you've got other plutonic things going on. You're more likely to be out in the action, actually doing stuff. Like it's a more extroverted energy with these aspects. And sexually too, there's less complication. So Mars in a man's chart is going to be how he asserts himself in order to, attract a woman or man or whatever he's attracted to, right? And in a woman's chart, it's more of like our image of masculinity and what it is and what turns us on and all of that. And so in a male chart, there can be less complication to do with women. So but it's interesting because you could have like harsh aspects to Venus. So maybe the self-worth is still struggling. But when it comes to like the decisive action to take to like get that person to like you or to ask them out on a date, they're usually going to be able to do that without a lot of stopping to think about, without shyness, without, and they might be shy with other aspects, but they're still going to go and ask the girl out, right? And women with this aspect or these aspects are going to expect that men are going to do that too. Like it's uncomplicated with the trine and the sextile, right? It's a more natural, like it's not like, oh, I have to think about this for 2 weeks, like if I'm going to ask this person out or not. It's just like, oh, I got the idea. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to, go and do it. And so there's that kind of uncomplicated energy to do with sex. So there can be less complexes that some of the other aspects would have. Now you could combine this with other things that would show there still is some sort of complex, but generally with these aspects, it's just more uncomplicated. And also it's a more natural thing. Like there's not all this shame. It's more like, okay, well, I want this. I desire this experience, this sexual experience or this relationship experience. So there's nothing wrong with that. Like I'm just going to go after it. And also if I get rejected, well, there's more around the corner. There's something better around the corner. And that's something that actually Mars Jupiter shares with Venus Jupiter is less fear of rejection, because there's a more innate belief in abundance that like, well, if it's not this person, there's someone else better, right? And like if that person doesn't want me, actually there's definitely someone else better, because I'm pretty great as a rule. So really lovely aspects to have in the natal chart. There generally is a positive attitude that's very attractive actually to other people. People with Mars trine or sextile Jupiter have a very likable energy. They can be quite popular. They're kind of like the popular kid at school. in some ways. And whatever group like that they find themselves in, they do have a charisma, they do have a certain charm. And like I said, it's a very uncomplicated energy that people can really like and really feel like this person is like a breath of fresh air. This is someone that has a very, I don't want to say calming energy because it's quite energetic, but it's like, it's soothing because it's very pure. And it's another thing, very blunt and honest. These people do not hold back, they do not lie. Unless they, don't want to hurt your feelings or something. But like, there's generally with Mars Jupiter aspects, you're going to see more just like forthright, blunt honesty, which can be a real breath of fresh air. Still, that potentially could be off putting, but less so than some of the other Jupiter aspects, that are in a square or something, right? So, yeah, I'd love to know your experience with these aspects. If you have them in your natal chart, how has it been for you? Sending you all the love. Love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye.